Hello guys. So basically what has been happening is that over the years of criticizing this show, I have seen some people in the fandom using the songs that are in the show and bring up how the lyrics tell us things about the characters or certain plot details or whatever, and use that as a defense for the writing of these terrible characters. This kind of thing blows my mind because I have never seen any other fandom use "you have to pay attention to the song's lyrics to understand the series" as a defense. And I'm here to explain to you why you shouldn't do that. But before I do that, make sure to like and subscribe. That's what YouTubers say, right? Now, why shouldn't you use songs of the show to defend the writing? Because it's irrelevant to the writing quality of the show. If the show isn't good enough in conveying what is going on by just normally using the visuals or dialogue, you know, standard things, then your story is poorly written and bad. A song should be complementary to the story and not be the one telling the story. You should not be required to go out of your way to look up a song's lyrics to understand the story of your show. The writing of the show should be good enough in order for us to be able to understand what is going on. Now, RWBY uses a lot of songs that have lyrics in them, with some of them being about certain characters in the show. Now, sure, the songs regarding the characters are allowed to have lyrics in them that can foreshadow certain events happening in the show as like a cool little detail. That's all well and good. Songs can be used to enhance the story, but you need to understand that enhancing the story doesn't mean it's a substitute for it. If there are certain plot details regarding the specific characters in the lyrics of the song, but it's not actually in the writing of the show, then the show did a bad job at properly developing these characters and it's not actually in the show. It's not the song's job to tell the story, it's the writing within the story's job to tell its story. Some people want to give me the bullshit argument that, well, music has always been a big part of RWBY as justification for even using music to defend the show to begin with. First of all, this is you basically telling me that I have to do my homework by looking up the lyrics and read through them, which is no different than using a book or a comic to justify the writing in the show when those are materials outside of the show. But Pyro, the songs are in the show, so why are we not allowed to use them? Second of all, RWBY is not a musical. The reason Disney movies work is because they're musicals and it's personal songs the characters sing, which is not only part of its story, but also the songs are the main focus of the scenes. The vocal songs in RWBY are not the main focus of the scenes. None of the characters sing them or anything, and half the time they have nothing to do with what is happening on screen. If I see Team RWBY fighting a Nevermore, I'm not thinking about RWBY being sad about her dead mom, which the show hasn't even established that she's even dead or who she is until volume 2, when Yang talked about it with Blake. The scene was about Team RWBY coming together as a team and fighting the big scary monster bird. If I see Team RWBY fighting together in a tournament, I'm not thinking about Wise's backstory and what shaped her personality. I'm thinking about them being able to win this fight in the first place so they can move on to the next round. Sure, there are some songs that fit with what is happening, like When Morning Follows Night is about Blake leaving her friends behind and Sun helping her out. But guess what? I didn't need to look up the song's lyrics in order to understand that, because it's what happens after they fight the big scary Unversed dragon, with characters interacting and talking to each other. One thing also works during the Cinder and Neo fight, because after the fight is over, the show makes it clear what Neo's motives are, which doesn't require me to look up what the lyrics are, with not only the visuals but also the dialogue. This is fine. Another thing is that these songs make the stories of these characters in them seem more interesting than what was actually shown on screen. Like, do you really expect me to care that Neo has a sad backstory of being lonely or whatever, when she's a nothing character who can't even talk? Oh, she said that her only friend died. Great, who cares? We had like no indication on what her relationship was with Torchwick in volume 2. All she really seemed to be was a henchman and that's it. So why do I have to take the word of this random song when the stuff it sings about wasn't even in the writing of the show? All Neo has been is just a random psycho. These are things you have to consider regarding the usage of songs in this show. Number 1. They don't play the full songs. There are scenes where half of the song is instrumentals and later portions of it has vocals, or they only play like half of the song. That doesn't even include the full vocals. Number 2. You'd be too focused on what is happening on screen to even pay attention to the vocals, which once again I said is fine if the story follows its plot points directly afterwards. Number 3. half the time you can't even understand what the singer is saying in the song. Especially with all the background noises going on, it's hard to even tell. The worst offender of this whole usage of music to defend the story is Red Like Roses Part 2, and it's really annoying how much people use it. So let me tell you a little story from a few years ago. When Volume 9 first came out, I criticized the fact that they made Summer Rose suddenly seem like an important character in the show, who RWBY has always been sad about this entire time over the fact that she died. Somebody told me that RWBY being sad about her mom was something that was explained in Red Like Roses, and at the time I didn't know what that was, and assumed it was either the title of a character short or from a book. But can you really blame me? Red Like Roses Part 2 only played once back in Volume 1 and then never again, despite people telling me that it's their main theme or something. This is because this show is allergic of reusing songs, so they keep creating new ones. So obviously I completely forgot that this song even existed until the guy who replied reminded me of that. Like I stated before, the song doesn't even fit with what is happening on screen. The Nevermore fight is about Team RWBY coming together as a team and fighting the big scary monster. So why is there a song about how sad RWBY is about her mom? The defense is that RWBY has always been burdened by her mom's death, and she was just trying to hide it until later volumes slowly opened the crack to reveal that she has always been depressed, which is just completely fabricated, because RWBY was never burdened by her mother's death in the show at all. She has always been cheerful, optimistic and hopeful throughout most of the show. She never talked about her mom prior to Volume 8, and she never seemed sad about it. To me, this seems more like she was already over her mom's death. You would think that someone who is burdened over their dead mother would actually be sad when she visits her gravestone. It would also work with the idea that she's hiding it from her friends because like only her dad is there. Yet she seems very cheerful and even made a small joke. That to me doesn't look like someone who has always been depressed about their dead mother. This argument also falls apart when you remember that in Volume 6, the gang were losing their spirit because of this special unverse type, and yet RWBY was the only one who kept herself strong throughout it and overcame losing her spirit when the team told her to give up the relic. And speaking of her death, what exactly happened before and after Summer's death that changed RWBY? She was like around 2 to 4 years old, and RWBY seemed totally fine by the time of Volume 1. So either nothing happened, or that story of her being sad was already over before the show even began. I think a really good comparison is with Masaki Kurosaki in Bleach. Not only was Ichigo a lot older, but we actually got to see what happened to her and how Ichigo felt afterwards. We're told that every year, on the day of his mother's death, he takes a day off to go visit his grave. He misses her and blames himself for her death. Tatsuki reminiscent on how Ichigo was a crybaby, but always smiled widely when his mom appeared. Masaki's death is the entire point as to why Ichigo acts the way that he does throughout the entire show. Ichigo used to be a more happy kid, but Masaki's death did change his attitude to be more serious and prone to being aggressive when it comes to protecting others. Even when we only started learning more about Masaki way later on in the show, her importance to the story was still there because of this backstory. Yet with RWBY and Summer, we have like no idea what actually changed because it wasn't there in the show. Heck, the second part of the vocals in Red Like Roses Part 2 doesn't even play in the show, so we wouldn't have known how Summer felt after leaving RWBY anyways. So Summer was never really important up until... well, she was never really important. And remember, the thing that healed her was a flashback of her mom that tells her how much she loves her, as if that automatically fixes her current situation. So yeah, using songs to defend this show is a silly thing to do. If anything, listening to songs like One Thing and using it to make the show seem deeper feels like emotional manipulation. Especially since Torchwick is okay with committing child murder, and considering the entire scene with Neo and fake Torchwick is supposed to be this emotional scene that makes no sense and isn't earned at all. Freaking Han Solo memory moment. Unless your show has a musical number where the character sings about their feelings, you can't use a vocal song in the background that are mainly used to make the fight scenes cooler. Jeff Williams is not the writer of the show. He has no control over what happens in it. And if the little stories that are told in the songs aren't in the show, or properly executed, then it didn't really happen. Judge the show based on the actual script and what is shown to us on screen, instead of using songs as a substitute for your poor writing. I hope I explained myself well enough. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed my little rant about the subject, and I'll see you when I review volume 6 in 2029 or something.